Your last name's Adams?
Yes, bro. Listen, everybody since the beginning of this thing, man. Everybody calls me Adam. I don't even like debate it anymore. I just answer to it, you know. But my name's Dustin Adams,
I only know you as Dustin, so that's good. You're out of Florida?
Georgia,
Where in Georgia?
just outside of Savannah.
Okay. Born and bred, raised there your whole life?
Been here forever, man. Hey, before we get rolling, man, let my shop manager come meet you real quick, dude. He's a fan. Him and his dad go up to
Oh,
Idaho.
we're rolling.
Oh yeah, we're
He can
rolling.
come in. Well,
Let me
we're
say what's
rolling.
up,
Yeah,
man.
come on over.
Come on over, Michael. Yeah, him and he knows that you like to do some elk hunting out in Idaho, and him and
Hey,
his
man.
family go up there. This is Michael. He's our shop manager here.
Nice to meet you.
Step in screen. I can't
Oh,
see you.
can't see me?
Oh, hey.
Hey,
Mucho gusto, man. So you are an elk hunter?
I am. I've been, 3 trips out to Idaho is what I've done. Two with a tag myself. The last trip, I just went to be my dad's pack mule.
Are you hopping online December 10th to get a tag?
I am not this year. I think my dad's going to try again, but I'm not going to try this year.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if I like that system, but yeah. Well, that's cool. How long a drive is that to get to Idaho from
30,
Georgia?
36 hours.
Good God.
Yeah. We drive out there every year instead of. Well, I flew this past year. I flew out and met my dad. He picked me up in Utah, but every other year we've driven. Just spread it out over 3 days.
Okay, cool. Well, nice to meet you, man. We're
You
gonna
too.
get this pod going, but good luck this year.
You too.
That's cool. Yeah. So I drive to Idaho every day to sleep, and it's 25 minutes, not 36
36.
hours.
Hey,
Good
yeah,
God.
listen, man. These guys, there's like 6 days just of travel time, not including any hunting time or anything there for these guys, man. They're dragging a camper out there and all that stuff. Like, it's commitment, man.
I hope they get enough time to hunt for that long of a drive because that 6 days burnt is tough, and hopefully nothing breaks down.
Yeah,
You
man. I,
know,
I think I think they hunt for about a week, man. Once they get out there, they're out there a week or so, and then they turn around and head on back, man.
this last couple years in Idaho, I have met dudes from Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and I honestly, that's probably the first time I've ever met guys from the Southeast in Idaho. I meet guys from Wisconsin,
Oh yeah.
Minnesota, Michigan, and they're all like legitimate threats on public land. Like they have a limited amount of time and they're there to get after it, and they've done their homework and they've killed tons of deer with their bows. So like they're a formidable threat to me, like as competition. But last couple years, been running the Southeast boys, which I gotta say, that mad respect, man.
Man, we get after the whitetails down here, but you have to come out west if you want any of that big game hunting, man. And I think guys like you have brought a lot of awareness to states like Idaho. Honestly, I actually listened to a podcast you did a while back talking about kind of just the difficulty of the terrain in Idaho, man, compared to some other western states, man. And I'm like, and these guys confirm it, man. They come back and they look like they've hit the gym 3 times a day for 2 weeks, bro. They're all worn out and tired and beat down, and they say that terrain is just a beast, man.
Yeah, I can remember starting this last season in Idaho for a couple days, then going straight to New Mexico, hunting at the same elevation, but I felt like it was a walk in the park. I felt like
Yeah.
it's just nothing that steep. And then when I came back to Idaho, I was like, good Lord, this place is just steep. And it just hurts to get those elk are incredible. You
Yeah.
know, have you elk hunted yet
No, I've
yourself?
never done it, man. It's a bucket lister. I'm buying and this is my second year buying points in Wyoming, man. It's just kind of like a bucket list state for me. I've got some friends that go out there and hunt, and so once I get my points right and draw a tag, I'll probably go out with them and make a trip out there, you know.
Yeah, good luck catching the points. Honestly, you're you're gonna have to hope to draw a random
Yeah.
for quite a while, which is still cool that you have a chance. But yeah, I had a buddy text me the other day who lives in Wyoming, and he's like, "How many points you got, Staten?" And I was like, "4." He's like, "Oh,
It's gonna
okay,
be a
yeah." So
while.
I just gonna have to get lucky and or pay the special price, which is just a shy of 2 grand now for essentially a general tag.
Really.
Yeah, I might do it. I don't know. Wyoming's a great state, but
Yeah, I bought my
there's a
I
lot
bought
of
my
other
third. I've
ones.
got 3 points, man. So I've got a ways to go, man. But to be honest with you, bro, I would love to go out west and do it. But man, I am so like on fire for bow hunting the whitetails over here right now, man. Like it's, our stuff is getting better in Georgia. The whitetail hunting's getting better. The maturity of the deer, the size, just everything's getting better. And I have a piece of private property here that I've really put the time into in terms of working it and trying to make it better. And it's, I'm finally starting to see that property mature. And it's, so I'm just like laser focused on it right now, man. So
Oh, that's great.
do you do any
I
whitetail
got to
hunting
meet
yourself?
all the. Yeah, I'm all in on whitetail, man. I got more years whitetail hunting than elk hunting.
Yeah.
That's where I started. Eastern Washington's got great whitetail hunting, and so does North Idaho, and it's different. It's not agricultural hunting, but essentially you can get into some mountain bucks,
Yeah.
and that's just a whole another species of whitetail. It's not, but it is in my world. Like they're just built different.
For sure.
So I'm still into that. I did a little bit of whitetail hunting in Montana this year.
I actually, now that you say that,
Started
I remember seeing you post some things whitetail hunting. I don't know why I
found some
asked. I
giants
saw
on
some good
public
ones. I
land. I
saw some
lit
good ones, bro.
hunting some, yeah, and just could not get them a little closer. They were all in my effective range, but no shots available.
Yeah.
And that was my first time saddle hunting, and I'm here to tell you, I'm never probably gonna hunt from a traditional tree stand again. It's like the saddle hunting to me. Now that I've done it, I'm going to employ it for spring bear over bait,
It's a game changer,
and
dude.
it's a game changer. And then I'm going to take it for elk in the early season,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't weigh. My setup from Latitude just doesn't weigh anything to where I can throw it in,
Yeah.
and it's not a big deal. Now I hunted elk this year out of a tree stand and passed 5 bulls. One of them I shouldn't have passed. One of them busted, or actually I passed on 4. One busted me drawing on them, and I just laughed it off, but it hurt. But I had to hike that tree stand and ladders so far up in the
No, man.
mountains in the summer, and it was just I'm never doing
That's
that again.
brutal.
So,
That's
and then
brutal.
with bears, a lot of times you like set up a fixed stand, you have a bait. I'll do spot and stock and baiting. It doesn't matter to me what, they're both fun.
Sure.
And a lot of times your stand, you sit your stand and you feel the wind just switch. The prevailing just switches on you, and you're like, okay, I either need to get down and leave and come back in 2 hours, or just sit here and let every bear smell me in the neck of the woods. Now I'm going to just like climb down and go pick the right tree and
That's right,
continue on hunting.
dude. That's
So
it, man. So we run into some of that here. So I have like some fixed stands on my place, well, lock-ons with ladders and everything like that, and then I saddle hunt other locations, man. But we get that bad swirling wind down here, man, because we're my property has creek bottom and stuff like that in there, so there's no real consistency to the wind. Sometimes there is, but man, it can shift on you. And if you're in a stand, just like you're saying, dude, you're stuck there. You're either gonna get down and leave, or you're gonna get busted, man. There's really like not an in between. But with the saddle, man, I've been doing it for a few years, and once you get into practice with it in terms of like your setup, dude, you can be from the ground to hunting in 10, 12 minutes time tops, man. So I don't really get into the one sticking, man. I got some buddies that do it, but I run 4 Skeletor sticks and a cruiser saddle, and man, I've gotten to where I can get up there pretty quick and quiet, and it's the way to do it. Plus, you have 360-degree, shooting there, so which definitely, I'm sure as long as you've been hunting, man, you've had that deer that's hung up behind you on the backside of a tree in a stand, and there's just nothing you can do except peek around and look at him. That's pretty rough, dude.
yeah, yeah. So I've made a little bit of content on the saddle hunting stuff, and I had no clue it was going to spark. So it's almost like talking about fixed versus mechanical broadheads. Holy
Right.
crap. Everybody has to make a comment on what brand I should use. And a lot of them are like, you should one stick. And I'm like, no, I'm not I'm going to carry 4 skeleton sticks, and I don't need to I don't need to one stick it. And I also
Same.
grew up climbing trees as a kid, so it's not scary to me to climb a tree, So I just think one sticking makes sense for those that need that. But for me, the little Latitude SS, they weigh nothing, 4 of them.
Dude, you're talking what?
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, same. So like I think that it probably has its place, man. But for me, I'm like,
Hmm.
dude, what am I gonna save? Like a pound and a half of weight, and then I've got this long ass rope I've got to deal with, and all this other stuff. Like, no, I'm perfectly happy with my 4 sticks and the aider on the bottom of them, and I'll just roll right up, and it's just like not an issue, man. I don't really see the place for one sticking, but that's just me. It's probably my hunting style that I don't. I'm sure it's there's something for everybody in terms of that.
Yeah, I think there's guys that it makes sense for. That's cool. I'm just telling them for the dude out west wants to carry 4 sticks with a couple aiders, which I didn't even know what those were until I got the latitude system, and they're legit, man. So, yeah, saddle hunting. I want to be one of the guys out west that kind of like helps push saddle hunting for Western hunting. I'm definitely not a guy who likes to take 3 hour naps on the elk mountains.
Yeah.
Instead, I would rather be elevated somewhere with like to increase your probability. I mean, think about it, man. If you hunt for a week and every day you take a 2 to 4 hour nap on the hillside, what if you traded that time for a 2 to 4 hour sit over a wallow or a saddle
Right.
elevated with your good wind? I think it would increase your odds. And,
Well, you're
yeah,
picking up
like
13 to 15 hours of time hunting, man. You know what I mean?
it's a numbers
That's
game. That's
huge.
all it is.
That's right.
So I'm here for that. But let's talk about archery a little bit. And I'm gonna publish this podcast on podcast platforms, but I want to publish it on ELKSHAPE YouTube as well,
Sure.
just in case people want to watch. I don't post all my podcasts on the channel, but this one I am because we're talking about arrows,
Yeah.
and people love talking about arrows.
It's
And at the
it's
time of this recording, Easton just announced, well, officially announced their new arrows, the 50
yeah.
and the FMJ Max. Have you had a chance to get your hands on those arrows?
I haven't the FMJ. I've got some of the 5.0s labeled experimental in my shop
Okay.
here, and I got to play around with them a little bit. They're pretty sweet, dude. I think that Easton was really hurting for that lighter GPI 5 mil arrow, man. I think that companies like Victory were getting into it with that RIP TKO, and I think they were hurting that axis a little bit. And yeah, man, I think that Easton hit the spot with this thing. I think that 300 spine, which is really common, is going to come in at like 8.4, which is, you know, you can build a pretty dynamic arrow at 8.4 GPI without sacrificing too much of your speed and trajectory and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I like that term. Trajectory is accuracy. That's something that makes a lot of sense for my short draw length, but the Easton components that come with it too now, you no longer need epoxy. You can run their typical 15 grain hit with the collar, kind of a nice marriage. And the 5 mil is probably the most popular. I don't know about you, but like I ran FMJs for the longest stretch. I still have killed more elk with the FMJ than any arrow, but then I switched to the Axis and I did that for quite a while. And then Josh Jones turned me on to the RIP TKO, and I was like, oh my gosh, this just
Yeah,
opens up the opportunity. So I ran RIP for quite a while until I switched to 4 mil. And then when I was at 4 mil, I went over towards the comps, pro comps, which then switched to the
X10s.
X10 Parallel Pro. And I'm kind of still love the X10 Parallel Pro, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
That's kind of like my favorite arrow. But for 5 mil, how can you be a made in America 5 mil 8.4 GPI 300 spine?
it's killing it, dude. It's killing it, and it gives you so you do, obviously you have the option of the hit insert and everything like that, but they're also launching those 5 mil match grade components too, which is like a half out system. Which, man, I'm just partial to a half out system over a hit system personally, man. I like it. I like what you can do with the weights. I feel more confident in terms of the adhesion and everything like that, and then the tunability of the component itself when you're assembling the arrow and building it. I just like it, man. I've always run a half out type system, but they're going to launch that, I think, in a 55 and a 75 grain half out. And dude, you take an 8.4 grain per inch arrow and put a 75 grain component up front and 125 grain broadhead, and you've just got such a good balance, right? You've got the FOC, the momentum, the speed retention, and everything because of that, and then you also, you also don't have to give up speed, man. That's where I think the light versus heavy arrow argument is going to just drive on forever, because you've got the speed versus the FOC and all that. And I think what manufacturers are catching on to is being able to find that middle ground. You know what I mean?
I do. When you're building arrows, and we're going to talk about your business in a second, have you noticed a significant improvement with that little bright orange O-ring on those new Easton half outs? For it's kind of right in the middle there, and when you slide it in, it kind of keeps that arrow absolutely like wobble free.
In terms of like an improvement as far as the way that the arrow builds out because of it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of like you buy half outs from Ethics or Podium or I don't even know all the brands out there. You
Sure.
would, but a lot of them don't have that O-ring that Easton
Right.
has. So once you put the part that's the end part in the arrow with that O-ring, I think that really holds true. It gets overlooked. I think that really has a huge say in the trueness of the arrow spin.
I agree with that. It creates a just an additional like snugness in there, right? Like when I'm putting these things together, man. The goal, right? I want it to fit as tight as possible without being like, so tight that you could potentially damage the arrow. And I think having that O-ring on there really kind of adds to that and helps it. Like it feels super secure, and then you add your glue and stuff like that, and it's just, man, it's a confidence thing for me personally on my own setups. And then, when I'm sending stuff out to people all over the place, same deal, man. I just, I feel confident that they're getting something that's secure and tight and true, and all of that. So yeah, definitely.
Well, tell the folks, I kind of know a little bit of the story, but tell the folks how Adams Precision Archery, essentially a custom boutique arrow building company, came to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. So it's probably the same story that you've heard a million times, man. It all started with my bow shop pissing me off, to be honest with you, my local bow shop. And so many guys have that problem and don't have great local bow shops to go to. But yeah, man, I'm a hobbyist with multiple different things, and when I get into something, I like to learn about it. I started learning about building arrows because my bow shop pissed me off, and I wanted to. I was paying premium money and not getting a premium product back for that. And so I kind of dove into that, realized there was a better way, got into the hobby, had fast forward a few months, I had a garage full of arrows that I had built that I wasn't using just because I was into it. And my wife was like, dude, you got to do something with all them arrows out there. There's thousands of dollars worth of stuff out there. And we filed an LLC, man, and posted a few pictures, and it just kind of blew up, man. And from that point, one thing led to another. We started our own wrap company. And so now we've kind of got a couple of different things going on there in terms of offering the custom arrows, but then also direct to consumer arrow wraps. We do manufacturing on arrow wraps now for other companies' products. And yeah, man, it's just it's really cool. It's been a pretty crazy ride. It's happened really quickly. We're only, I don't know, 27, 28 months old. I don't know. I guess we're 2.5 years now, but yeah, it's all consultation based. You can't buy the arrows on the website. I think the importance in that is that if again, I don't want people to feel like I felt like they were spending premium money without getting a premium product. And so it's important to me that if you're going to buy a set of arrows from us, that we've had a conversation about your hunting scenario, about your bow setup, and about kind of the things you're trying to accomplish. And then we'll give you the options of saying, hey, this would be a great setup for you based on what you told me. And we've had really great results with that, man. We have a really high retention rate, and people just love what we build them because we care that it's the right thing for them.
So, what are the most popular, maybe top three arrow shafts that you built in 2024 that left your shop?
The Rip TKO, the
Hmm.
VAP TKO, and the 4 mil Axis long range.
Okay.
Definitely.
What about components? What did you see largely the majority of folks leaning towards when it came to components?
So we do Easton components. I love, in terms of the 4 mil stuff, the Easton components I think are the jam, dude. They're really, really good. We use them on the Easton shafts, obviously the match grade components. We use them on the Victory shafts. They have all sorts of fitment options, so they're interchangeable between manufacturers. I think they're the best factory 4 mil components out there. On the 5 mil stuff, we do a ton with the ethics systems, the post and sleeve systems. They're durable. They're consistent as far as weights go, and they give you just such a wide range of weight availability that it's hard not to go that route.
Do you have any available for those that are on YouTube right now that want to see the ethics components you're talking about?
Yeah, you want to see?
Yeah, hold my beer. Go grab one.
Yeah.
It is a 2-piece system here, right? So this is a 120 grain system. You've got an aluminum post here, and then you've got a stainless collar. But you can also adjust your weights here. They're pre-stressed, so you can break them off in 15 grain increments. And so what you get, if you've got yourself a 5 mil arrow here, that post slides all the way down to about right here, right? So you've got really good stability and support there. And then your sleeve is going to slide over the outside. And let's just say I run an ethics field point here, 125 grain. So that's what your finished product is going to look like there. And so, for example, the Rip is a great arrow because it's a light GPI arrow as well, right? So, and there's not a lot of GPI variance across those different spines. So the 350, the 300, and the 250 are only separated by 0.2 of a grain per inch, which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so your 350 rip's 8.7, your 300's 8.8, and your 250 rip is 8.9, which is killing it on that 250, man. So even putting something like this, which is going to be 225 grains up front on this arrow, you can still maintain a really reasonable arrow weight so that you're not sacrificing that trajectory, right? Building an arrow to us is about managing the best arrow performance while maintaining your widest margin of error possible. And what I mean by that is like a guy like you, for example, dude, you shoot constantly, right? And you can just crush it on your range back behind your house or whatever the deal is. But getting into that moment, there's emotions involved that are not involved when you're shooting at a target, right? And so, when you go super heavy on these arrows and create these really, really small margins of error, you end up with animals lost. And so by keeping that margin of error wide and being able to maintain some speed on top of that momentum and penetration, I just think it's the best of both worlds for the average bow hunters.
Now, can these guys, when they do their consult, can they like give you artwork ideas and you guys do custom wraps to their ideas?
Yeah, dude. Everything.
Wow.
All of that's customizable, man. We actually did one. I'm really proud of it. We had a guy reach out to us not that long ago. It was really cool. It's one of the coolest ones we've done. But the guy reached out, said he wanted to do like a tribute type arrow wrap for an infant child that him and his wife had lost. And so what they did, man, is they sent me the actual footprint from their baby in the hospital, and we printed that footprint on a set of wraps for this guy, and built his arrows around that. And it was super cool. We get to do some stuff like that occasionally. Really, really cool, man. But guys can send us their
that's
logos.
intense.
Yeah, for sure. Guys can send us their logos. They can say, "Hey, can you make me something that's just orange or whatever the case is," and we can do that, man.
Okay. I thought so. So did you ever sell out though? We did an ELKSHAPE run with you this summer on basically my arrow build, and we did a little bit of marketing, not a lot. I went hunting, so I couldn't help you out. I was off grid, but do you have any of those left?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Are those all sold?
No, I've got. We sold through about half of them. So we sold through about half of them, and I've got half or so left. The cool thing about it is that we're going to put together a discount code for your listeners, man. If they want to pop on, it's still on our site. You can still purchase it, and we'll give those guys 15% off on those builds, just so that they can, help us move them along. It's a great arrow build, but it is, it's a little on the pricey side for sure.
So, okay. So tell everybody, let's tell everybody all the information about the arrow and the code or whatever you're giving to, because the YouTubers too can get in on that, not just the listeners on the platforms, but like,
Yeah.
What is the arrow and what is the
So,
codes and all
so
that?
the arrow is going to be an X10 Parallel Pro. You're running that 60 grain podium two piece 4 mil component system, which is a killer component system, by the way. East and match grade points, the hybrid HP vanes. We did a custom elk shape wrap, which I saw your social media stories all season long, dude. You look like you had pretty great success with them, but. Anyways, yeah, so it's built that way in terms of the color scheme. It's going to have the elk shape wrap. It's going to have the elk shape logoed hybrid HP vanes. What the customer can change is going to be the arrow spine. They can change the field point weight, but aside from that, when they get the arrows, it's going to be set up in terms of appearance and componentry, just like what you're hunting with and having all that success with. They're available at adamsprecisionarchery.com. You can use code ELKSHAPE15. It's going to get you 15% off on those builds. And basically, when the customer gets the arrows, man, they're ready to go. They don't have to do anything other than go, shoot through paper, tune their bow, make sure everything's tight and dialed in, and then they're good to go, man.
So when you go to your website, how do you navigate to those arrows?
You could just go to the search bar and click, or excuse me, type in elk shape. It would be there. I think
Okay.
also there's still a header on the site as well that you can click direct. And, it's really simple. It'll give you a drop down to select your spine, your cut length, and all of that. If you guys have any questions, obviously just shoot us an email over. There's contact us links on our site, and we're super fast and responsive. We can get you the information that you need to make sure that you're making that right length decision and spine decision.
Well, let's talk to some of the dudes that don't really care about arrow weight, man. Honestly, like that was kind of me for a long time. Like I think a lot of my arrows came in north of 500 for elk. And I hunted North Idaho, real brushy, and I never really got shots past 20 yards. And so I was shooting an 80-pound Hoyt forever, and I was just like, get whatever, just give me something heavy, and I'm gonna put a pin on it and shoot at whatever angle I need. So some dudes don't care about weight or whatever, and or don't mind going heavy. And I put heavy in quotations, Dustin, because like it's all relative, man. But
Yeah,
like,
dude.
what are some of those north of 500 build arrows that come out of your shop? What do those look like?
Man, they're few and far in between, to be honest with you, man. Kind of as part of our consultation. So we have guys that come in. Let me tell you the most common conversation that's had about that heavy arrow, man, is guys coming in saying, hey, man, this is my current arrow setup. It's 580 grains. I want to go a little lighter this year. And so there's a lot more of that than there is the other way. As guys saying, hey, I'm shooting 440 grain. I want to go a little heavier. We kind of, I don't want to say we like bash that heavy arrow build, because I think there's a place for everything. But part of our process in that consultation, man, is just kind of explaining to these guys, like, look, man, Dan Staton's killing elk with 448 grain arrows. Chris B's killing moose with 440 grain arrows. Like, let's build you a 460 grain arrow, 470 grain arrow. It's going to do the job. And just what you give up to have that additional weight, man, it's just, you don't need it. It's just not necessary. That being said, if you built an arrow like what I just showed you here, you probably would cross that 500 grain mark, 505, 510, depending on your shaft cut length. But we don't do a lot of 600 and 700 grain arrows in here, man. Our customers, we've kind of developed a reputation. Our customers trust what we're talking to them about and trust that we have their best interests in mind when we're making build recommendations and that sort of stuff. And it would be hard for me, from a standpoint of integrity, to tell a guy to shoot a 550 grain arrow when I wouldn't shoot a 550 grain arrow either. Even if I was a Western hunter shooting elk or shooting moose or bear, or whatever it is. I mean, you're a pretty prime example that you don't need a 500 grain arrow to have success in the elk woods.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've always said that for really for whitetail especially, I kind of just build the arrow with the stuff I want and throw it on a scale and see what it weighs, and it is what it is. And for elk, that's definitely the opposite. Like I'm pretty much very surgical.
Yeah.
I kind of have a goal in mind. I have never killed an elk with anything less than 420. And not to say I wouldn't try it, but for me, it just doesn't never really seem to work out to that light of an arrow.
Yeah.
But mainly for elk, the significant reason for that is people would say the word trajectory. I want to take it a step further, Dustin. It's the how fast it happens on elk. Like if you call an elk in, you've kind of pre-ranged a few things, but you do not have time to range the elk when he comes in and then adjust anything. You don't have time for that. You pre-range, it comes in, you hopefully have a diaphragm in your mouth. You usually need to stop them. You don't want to shoot a moving elk ever because you will hit further back. They just deceptively move fast even when they're walking. So you typically cow call when they're in a lane that you wanted to shoot and you're already at full draw. And they're going to stand somewhere near a tree or a shrub or a rock that you had pre-ranged. And in a moment's notice, you're going to make a judgment on the yardage or the distance. And you're going to probably have ISH behind that number, meaning he's 40-ish.
Right.
He could be 43. He could be 37 and a half. And you're going to use your 40-yard pin. And if you do have a little bit of a heavier projectile, shorter draw length, less energy, a little bit more trajectory in your flight could mean, archery is a game of inches. I think we all can agree on that.
For sure.
For elk hunting specifically, trajectory really plays a huge role for me. Like for whitetail hunting, I really don't shoot at whitetail past 40. I have, but I prefer top pin if we're being real on those cagey little critters. But yeah, I think guys will bow hunt long enough and learn those valuable lessons. And watch that video I just made. Well, it's not out yet, but by the time this comes out, it'll be out, where I dedicated a full week to making a YouTube video on how to make your archery practice more realistic towards hunting. And I mean, I didn't remember everything, but I tried to come up with as many scenarios as I've had in the field and how to actually practice those, which most people don't. We all stand at the bale at 40 yards away.
That's
or
right.
60. And
we just shoot over and over and over and over, right? Like,
it's just never going to be like that in the field, man. I just promise you. Yeah. What would you say your average distance has been on whitetail throughout your entire career? If you had to make an average guess.
Mine, 25, 20,
yeah.
25. I shot one the night before last at 42. And that's a longer shot. Just like you said, man, like, that's a longer shot than I want to take. I'm not, you got guys like Levi out there shooting them at 80 yards and all that. That ain't me, dude. I don't have that skill level like he does. Michael right here shot one last year, I think at 60. But 40, 42 is like, that's kind of pushing my comfort range, like in terms of like an ideal scenario. But most of the time, man, if you're in the whitetail woods, especially down here, dude, you're getting a 20-yard shot, 25 yards. So, it's not like out there with you guys hunting elk, man, where 70 yards is a reasonable shot. You know what I mean?
Well, the guys out there that appreciate what you do, and just don't simply have the time to build their own arrows, you're a great option. And now you have a discount code for those ELKSHAPE arrows. That's cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Thank you for that. And the other thing is there's other options out there for arrow building. I know I've promoted blackovis.com. I've been inside there and seen their arrow builds. They're not as bougie as yours, where you do all those cool custom consult things. I don't really know of anyone else besides you that's doing as much custom stuff out there. So you kind of have that carved out for yourself, which is cool. And I just want to finish this pod with kind of asking you, let's talk to the guys who aren't going to hire you. They want to like start building their own arrows, which is cool.
Yeah.
I build my own arrows, but I had you build me a dozen this year, and that's what I used on elk all year long.
Yeah, man.
What are some of the most common mistakes people make when they're building their own arrows? Let's try to do that.
They don't focus on the details. You have to. It's not something that you rush through, man. For me, like, I'm super meticulous about mine. I want them to be perfect. Every one of them, I want them perfect. And I think that guys I don't think there's enough focus on the arrow in the whole transaction, to be honest with you. Guys go out and spend thousands of dollars on these setups, these bows, and all this other equipment. And then when they get to the arrow, man, they just shortchange that a lot of times. And at the end of the day, the projectile is the most important part of the whole deal. I mean, it's what's getting the job done. And so when you're building your arrows, take your time, test different arrows, see what works best for you. There's no such thing as brand loyalty. You have to find, just like with a bow, you have to find what works best for you. And yeah, man, take your time, learn about it, do it the right way the first time. When you're fletching the arrows, take your time, make sure it's correct. I mean, it's all about time, man. A lot of guys just want to fletch up a dozen arrows real quick and then go, but I think that it's more important than that, and it deserves more attention than that.
When it comes to cutting the arrow, what is the number one saw of Adam's precision archery?
We use the last chance revolution.
Okay. And you kind of have, when you're cutting arrows, do you guys cut from both sides or do you just cut from one side?
Well, it depends. If we're using a non-match grade shaft, we cut from both sides. But we check everything prior to cutting. If it needs to be cut from the backside, then we will do it. But nowadays, man, with carbon technologies, things like spine indexing and all of that, man, it's just becoming so much less and less of a factor, man. Technology's crazy now with the tolerances on these arrows.
All right, let's talk arrow jigs because there's a bunch out there. I still do not have the OMP. I'm going to very soon. I haven't had to try that one out, but I mainly use the Arizona Mini for those 5-degree helicals that I get, or if I want to bring it down to like 2.5 degrees, I'll use the old school bits and do one vein at a time. I've tried some boning ones out there. What's your guys' like heavily most used jig?
We only use the bits and burgers.
Okay.
We waited around for a while for the OMP as well. There's been a ton of production issues with that thing. I'm sure it's a great product. It looks like the idea and the technology there, I think, is solid. But the Bits and Burger is proven, man. It's the most proven fletching jig on the market. It can do anything that we need to do in terms of helicals and directions and consistency and that sort of thing. I tell you what, man, on these Bits and Burgers, we switched all of them to these AAE knobs, and it's so crisp and
Yeah.
it's so precise. It was a game changer over the stock knob on those jigs, and we probably have 15 Bits and Burger jigs in here, man, and it's what we use.
And there's two different knobs AAE makes. I have both. You should explain that for folks and the differences.
So at the time of us buying all these knobs, there was only two options. One was a crossbow option, and the other was the just the standard, 3 fletch, 4 fletch, and then the bat wing design or whatever. So I don't know about the second one, man. I haven't ever done anything with it.
It's yeah. So Nick Fisher, I think he's the owner of
Yeah.
AEE. He was at my house a couple years ago. I got to get him back out here. We made some great videos together, and he's a good friend of mine. But he's got that one that you can do like he's experimented with six veins, and so you can set that up to do more than four
crazy.
veins if you wanted to get cray on it. But yeah, no, I think that's good. Do you guys shave down any parts on that pot metal bits? Like, do you like? I a lot of times I'll grind off part of it.
You're talking about part of the clamp itself?
Yeah,
Yeah, bro.
yeah, I've done that in the past.
Yeah, man. So like this would be a standard clamp, and then we run a lot
Yeah.
of them like this. You know what I mean? A lot shorter.
Aha.
And this is how you're going to get more helical out of it and better contact and all that stuff like that. So it just depends on how much juice you're trying to put on that thing when you're fletching it up, man. We try to stay around like 1.5 to 2 degrees, man, on most of our builds, just because. But you have some guys that want it all, man, and so we're set up to be able to get it. I think we can get 3+ out of a Bits and Burger. But that's pushing it.
Yeah, that's still plenty. Do you think? I guess I'll ask you this. I asked you the most popular shafts. How about what are your top three most popular veins going out the door?
So we do a lot of the AAE stuff, the Max Stealths. It's a really popular vein. It's easy to fletch. They have great durability. I think the only complaint about them is the weight. They're a little bit heavy. We do a lot of tack veins, man. The 275 driver is super popular. It's really lightweight. It helps to preserve that FOC on those lighter builds. Actually, I think I built you a set of arrows that had those 275 drivers on there. It's really popular. They're difficult to fletch, dude. It's probably the most difficult vein out there to fletch, but in terms of performance, man, they're as good as anything. They steer fixed blades great. They are ultra quiet, man. Ultra quiet.
Is it just a learning curve, man? Like with getting them to stick, or is it always a challenge?
It just requires a little extra attention. So the deal with them is that the foot of the vane is super narrow and very rigid. And so what happens is if you don't roll that vane down onto that shaft, if you try to just press it straight down, sometimes that foot will want to curl in versus open up onto the arrow. So if you roll it down, you just have to make sure you get perfect vane contact from the foot to the shaft. Otherwise, man, they just won't stick. And so you got a lot of guys out there that say, oh, the tag vanes won't stick. They won't stick. They'll stick, bro. You just have to, you just have to put them on there right. They stick, bro.
Good, good. We did a video today on ELKSHAPE, so this will be old news for people watching now. But Cody from Easton busted out this new to me glue that I had never seen
He's
before,
told me about it.
and uh, it's I think it's called Triggered
So it uses
Archery or
UV,
something.
right?
But yeah, and so when he left, I got out my old phone and busted out my PayPal account, and I ordered some, and now that's the only like I'll use that or AE Max Bond, but I really like that UV glue. It's super tough. And with that video, I think we're gonna bolster some sales for whoever that guy is. You're welcome, but
Right.
he did a really good job. You haven't messed with it
I
yet?
haven't. Cody also told me about it, man. Cody called me one afternoon to talk to me about this glue. Like he made a point to call just to tell me about this glue. But man, I've just had such good results with it with the Max Bond, dude. It's the Max Bond system is
Right.
super good, bro. Super good. I don't have much durability issues. For the tack vanes, we run the tack glue. I'm a believer in using the glue system for the vane that you're using. I just think that
I agree.
that
Yeah.
the manufacturers make it that way for a reason, and maybe there's some truth to it, or maybe there's not. But I can just tell you, man, like that Max Bond glue system is killer. But I've heard a lot of good stuff about that UV glue as well, man. I know a couple other builders out there that
Yeah.
use it.
I pretty much use AE Max Bond for the arrow, and then I do the tip and tail with that triggered, and it dries so fast and it
Locks
smokes
them
when you put
in,
the
dude.
UV light on it, and it locks them in. But do you have a YouTube channel, or are you just on Instagram? How can people follow like more of your content?
Definitely check us out on Instagram at Adams Precision Archery. Also, we're on TikTok. We're trying to get a little more active there, man. We're at Adams Precision Archery. And listen, my guy Pat that works with me has been on me for 2 years now to get YouTube up and running. Man, it's just, dude, we've been so busy that I haven't been able to open that up yet. But we're trying to get our YouTube going, man. YouTube would definitely be something that's next for us. We're interested in. We do have a channel. I've got probably about 90,000 less subscribers there than you do.
Nice work. Well, YouTube is my favorite
Yeah.
platform out of them all, and it's my favorite audience. They are so observant. I mean, they will look in the background of every video and point out something out of place, or you can't pull wool over YouTube viewers' eyes. Like there's no fluff, there's no BS. So that's my only advice for you: is keep it real, really real. And speaking of TikTok, I have TikTok, but I get strikes there
Same.
all the time. Like
Same.
and I'm like, so it discourages me from posting anything there. But if you guys want to follow me on TikTok, I post and ghost. I'll never read comments and I'll never engage with anybody. That's not probably the best plug, but I just don't have time. But I do
We're pretty
try
much the
it.
same on TikTok, dude. It's just post and ghost because, like you said, man, there's our stuff gets taken off of there all the time, and it's just like arrows, man. It's not even something being like shot or killed or any of that. It's
Exactly.
just, but you know how TikTok is, man. But
Yeah, it's Chinese spyware.
yes,
Oh man. Exactly. Okay, well, as far as the rest of your season, Georgia's rut kind of kicks off right now. Like, are you guys in the middle of peak rut?
it's over, man. It's over. Like our
It is over.
yeah, where we're at. So Georgia's really weird on the rut, man. So like where we're at, the whitetails rut from like the 20th or so of October into the first week of November, and then it's over. And the farther west you go in the state, the later it is. Like for example, like far western Georgia counties that border Alabama, their deer don't rut until January. So
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So, and we're only separated by like 4.5 hours of driving time and 3 months in rut. So our deer are over, man. They're back on the food sources again now. All the excitement's over. You're hunting the edge of a food plot, waiting on whatever walks out to walk out, and that's pretty much that, dude.
Yeah. When I was in Montana this year, I was hunting just I guess maybe a couple of days, and it was middle November, and it was straight on,
Oh yeah,
but it was straight up happening.
that's
Bucks were
awesome.
chasing. I experienced lockdown, chasing, everything you would want in just a couple days. And I actually went there with the idea of shooting like a 120 buck.
Yeah.
I had never hunted this piece before. It's public land. And of course, I see the best public land buck I've ever seen in Montana, like a straight 160 plus buck
Yeah.
come out. And I mean, dude, I've killed some whitetails, and I lost all control.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally was worried that the buck was going to get the closest he got was 64, couldn't get a shot, but I was worried he was going to come in tight, and I was going to like literally have video evidence of me not being a stone cold killer.
Freaking out.
And just buck fever took over my life. And when he
Yeah.
left, I had to like cinch that saddle tight because I was shaking. I was already cold, and then that adrenaline dump, and I was like, I'm gonna hurt myself somehow right now. I need to I need a minute.
Hug
And
the tree.
that's the only animal that can do that to me is whitetail.
You don't get that with elk. You don't get that with elk.
No, because elk, you're already physical. You're sweating. You're
Yeah, I guess that's true.
you're climbing. Like you're seeing them a lot, and it's not like nothing forever, and then all of a sudden, bam, this buck walks into your life. That doesn't happen with elk too much. Now it did
makes
happen a
sense.
little when I tree stand elk a little. They kind of come in and catch you off guard, and you get that adrenaline, but not like a whitetail, where a whitetail's so methodical with every step and every sense, and like you can hardly breathe. It's not like that.
Especially
But
those ones you see coming from like a ways off, right? Like it's just
That's worse.
It's painful, dude. By the time they get to you, you're just like, I mean,
You're a
bro,
mess.
You're a mess. You're a mess. So
Oh man, I love whitetail hunting, man, and
Yeah.
I do want to do more and more Midwest whitetail hunting. I've never hunted Midwest. I got to get out there for sure. Even some public land walking would be great for me, like with the saddle. But
My buddy-
I'm headed to South Texas soon, and their main rut should be happening probably right about now or in about a week when I get there, and that will be a riot. And then I'm
That's
actually
gonna be
going
an
back to
experience.
Texas to hunt post rut when they're all starving and there's proteins out, and I don't mind hunting over feeders. I got no shame in my game.
Same.
As long as you show and tell people what you're doing and don't make it look like something it's not.
yeah.
I don't think people have a problem
If
with
it's
that.
legal, it's legal, man. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer that while there's different degrees of difficulty, no matter what the scenario is, killing a whitetail with a bow, killing an elk with a bow, it's still a challenge, dude. It's hard. It's hard. So,
It is.
you know,
I loved that Montana hunt because like there is no feeders.
no.
You cannot bait. And so I was this is weird, but like I would get down when it get dark, and I would turn my Peaks headlamp to the brightest setting, and I would take all my sticks and saddles and put it in my backpack, and I would usually hike for a couple hours every night. I wasn't afraid to bump deer at night, and I was just looking for my next setup the next day, trying to find rub lines, scrape lines,
That's it.
field scrapes, and every day I'd change my setup and see different deer, and a lot more woodsmanship, and it's just different. It's not necessarily harder or better. It's just
It's
I like
different.
all styles of hunting, and I love it. It was
Yeah,
it
man.
was a lot of fun. I didn't shoot a buck. I had 2 shooters inside archery range, just couldn't get shots. And to me, that was my season, and I have no regrets. I absolutely enjoyed every
Those
second.
interactions, I mean, even if you can't, right? So I tell a lot of guys, like, and this is just me personally, I've had interactions where I've passed deer or been in a situation like you were where you couldn't quite get a shot, but they were within range. And to me, as a whitetail
Yeah.
hunter, man, especially passing, right? There is still a satisfaction because you still won that chess match, right? You were still there. You still could have, or you still had that opportunity. And that's hard to do, man. It's hard to put yourself in that situation with animals that are like, as particularly whitetails, man. This is a paranoid animal down here anyways, like maybe not out west. I don't
Yeah.
know. I've hunted in the Midwest before and they're not quite the same. They're a little more like, I don't know. But down here, man, we've got a rifle season that runs from October to January. And so listen, man, right now, like deer are walking out of the wood lines, like looking up, like they're freaking out and super paranoid. And it takes them 45 minutes to move 20 yards and like all of the stuff. And so to get yourself in position, never mind getting it done, which is a whole nother thing, but to get in position is an accomplishment in and of itself, man. These things are no joke.
Yeah. Well, this is the Elk-Shape channel, but I'm here to talk about deer all day, every day,
Yeah,
man.
right. Right.
I love that.
I wish
Well,
I had
guys,
more to
this is,
contribute to the elk conversation, dude.
well, I hope you do down the
Yeah, for
road. This
sure.
is Dustin Adams, Precision Archery. What's the name of your YouTube channel?
Adam's Precision Archery.
Okay, we are going to plug it because I want him to make arrow videos, and then check him out on IG. And if you need a consult, I'm sure those are free. Hook it up,
Absolutely.
reach out to him. And then the discount code one more time for the Elk-Shape edition arrows that you have on your website
It's going to
is
be
Elk-Shape
ELKSHAPE
15.
15. That discount code also is going to apply to our direct-to-consumer arrow wrap products and everything like that. Just for supporting the ELKSHAPE channel, jump over, and grab a set of wraps. On our website, you can click submit an inquiry. That's how you get your consultation. You fill out a quick questionnaire with your bow specs, your broadhead weight, your email or text information, and somebody will reach out, man, and we'll start having a chat about some arrows and put together what's going to suit you best in your particular situation, man.
Dustin, thanks for your time, guys. Separations in the preparation. We'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.